Hello, everybody. I'm Kate Foggo. This is Julie Hurt, and we are making light to humans being. I'm going to start off with an appeal at the beginning. Julie and I have set are we going to call it our chief definite aim? I don't know.
Let's do it.
Our chief definite aim for the one of, so that's Napoleon Hill speak, but chief definite aim for making light. The reason behind this, well, other than obviously we want to be massive, is we realise that a lot of stuff we talk about is quite personal. So whilst we don't get a lot of public comments, we do actually privately get quite a lot of comments from people, enough so that we feel that we would really like to share it bigger. I mean, I hope eventually people will share more publicly, but you know, the topics we choose deliberately are quite private and not everybody wants to share, but we do get feedback from people saying how much it helps them and how much they enjoy it. So we want you to help us, please, to make our audience bigger. It's really hard at the beginning, and Julie and I have done this just for fun, really, but we actually both are really committed to it, and we try to keep it fun to keep the motivation going. But actually, we would really like to take it to the next level. So our chief definite aim, of course, my phone's died, right? As making light is to help soul searchers realize they are allowed to enjoy life. In talking through our stuff and sharing our experience, we help people navigate their path to personal happiness. So we aim to have 1,000 or better in brackets, and we discussed this. That Julie decides that the universe decides what's better, because I was like, well, is more better or is less better? We'll leave it up to the universe to decide. We aim to have 1,000 or better subscribers by the end of December 2022 by producing regular episodes and finding ways to engage with our audience. Our long-term gain, of course, is by the end of 2025, we will have a worldwide audience of 1 million people or more.
Or better.
So thanks, everybody. If you could please subscribe to our channel if you enjoy what you see and what you watch. Please subscribe to our channel. Please share it on Facebook or your other social media so other people can find us, and all the various other ways. Did that cover everything, Julie?
I think so. Yes. If the universe has more betters, they'll let us know.
Yes. So this episode, we're still basking in the sunlight of having had Vicky on our show last week, which was actually really a treat for us, because it's really nice to have somebody who is desperate to be interviewed by us, but also just to get that perspective of somebody else is really good for both of us. So today we're going to just chat. We have various things we want to talk about. We're going to see if a theme emerges or not. We shall see. But it might just be a mishmash. But to start with, Ms. Julie would like to do a little follow-up on shame.
Oh, now.
Yes, because I actually can't remember now what we were talking about when I said, oh, start recording. It's gone.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, yes.
It'll come to me if you're ready for your shame. If you're not, we can talk about something else.
Yes, I don't know if I'm ready for all of it, but I will say I can say this much, because I'll think about the rest of it. Because you can see there's shame around this. There's actually shame around the fact that I have shame. And then there's just the thing that is the shame itself. But it was I have 3 stepchildren, and from those 3 stepchildren there is a grandchild now. So they've all been around Brad and myself, my husband Brad and myself, his kids, for the last week or so. And during that time, we had the conversation with Vicky. They weren't always here. Their mother is about an hour to the south of us. And so they were in the area. 2 live way out west. 1 lives on the other side of the state. So anyways, but they've all been kind of around us this whole past week. And with the conversation with shame, I was thinking last night, they left yesterday. I was thinking last night, it just suddenly dawned on me, oh my gosh, look at this look at this bucket of shame over here that I actually never talk about. I actually ignore it. I have a version of a story to tell around it, and I don't tell it. So I am not ready to dump those contents here just yet. I have a feeling it's
I will.
because I can, What?
I will.
Yeah.
I'm happy to.
No. But anyway, but it's just interesting. So I was saying to Kate earlier, like I was just at least putting that toe in the water. I think there's an opportunity to come back to shame, either with Vicky or without, depending on how it all decides to come out. But yeah, there's fascinating.
I would also say what's really interesting about that, though, because you told me what it was, is the things that shame us. Because I know the things I told you and Vicky about after the call, because I was really deeply affected. I don't know if you noticed. I was quite affected on the call about what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And that, you know, the things that we're ashamed of, like what you just told me, I was like, so? Like it's like it's such a personal thing.
Yeah.
Like for your story, I'm like, nah, I can't imagine why anyone would give a shit about that. And for myself, you know, even I can look at the things that I'm deeply ashamed of and go, so what? Like, of all the things in the world you can do that you should be ashamed of, is that really the best you can do? I mean, it's such a personal thing and largely ridiculous, I think.
I also have a coughing thing, so just went through a healing session on. Here's the stories that we create about this. The stories we create, I was going to say about the stupid stuff, but the stories we create are just silly. Because when I said, here's the deal, and then I started to say, and I'm afraid, and even just telling you, Kate, like I said that my hands started to sweat, I started to get all nervous. You were like, wait, I didn't even hear what you said, because I like technology wise, I blacked out. But also you're like, okay, when I repeated it, then you're like, okay, whatever. And then you're just talking. So Luke, we were also having a conversation about how the animals along, Kate did a little healing around my cough. Not a little healing, she did a big healing around my cough before we started to hit record. And I was telling her afterwards, here's where the animals came into play as the different things that she unveiled made themselves known, which we can go through that too. But just as you started to talk about, the shame, look at these stories. At that moment, Lucas, who's always usually sleeping at my feet, put his head on my feet. I can feel his nose right here, like on my, and it was just like the softest little, I'm like, oh, he's telling me the same thing you are. Oh, they just make me so, animals just, yeah. The integration, when you can see that, well, we see a glimpse of the bigger web, but the animals help us do that. That was just amazing. So yeah. Okay.
See the bigger web thing, like, you know how I think we were talking about this in book club, how you can get, I get a lot of the concepts that you can sort of get it, but you can't quite get it, and it's sort of almost there. And I think Eckhart Tolle says somewhere about you will absorb from a book what you understand. Don't worry if you don't understand it, it will find you and it will make sense. And I must admit, the first time I read I think it was The Power of Now, there was bits of it that were just beyond me. I'd actually like to go back and read Conversations with God again, because I found part 2 is quite intense. I suspect the field will be the same, because it does start talking about the not astrophysics, what is it, the quantum physics,
yeah.
Which we'll see. But just a simple exercise I'm doing with Paul McKenna, and he talks about creating your, are you yawning? That's a good sign.
No, it was another.
Oh, right. I thought you were yawning.
No. So, yeah. I still feel the coughs are like a release too, though. I'm just going to say that. Okay, go ahead.
So he does this, like, what he calls your wealth anchor, and you choose 4 things that, if you had a lot of money right now, what are these 4 things you'd do? And mine are really quite simple. I mean, they're not really built from riches, but so one of them is I would build a greenhouse on the side of the house, because that would give me shelter, which would allow me to actually and get some landscape done on the garden, so that I can actually garden outside. And if I had this shelter, the chickens could be in, like a greenhouse shelter, so it gets a lot of light, so it'd be warmer. And then in winter, it would just be okay. It still wouldn't be warm, but I'd maybe be able to stay outside and actually to do some plants and that, and the chickens could be in there, and it's actually really fun to play with them in the garden. So that's one of them. The other is to go traveling again with Gary, because we always used to travel, but we don't anymore because I haven't got any money. And you know, and thinking about just even just being with other people, like, because we don't really go out, we don't really see people going out, seeing new things, new that. Then there's my swimming, and that to me is all about being in the sea, being in the water, being in the lofts, going to beautiful places, being with people who I have a very nice, gentle relationship with that doesn't involve any of this soul searching. It's all very superficial and gentle fun. And then the other thing was just finding, like, for example, new arts and crafts and spending time doing it. And so for 3 times a day, I write just a few words about each of these things. And then for 2 of them, you pick a code word, if you like, and then you try and marry them together and eventually try and marry them all together. And what I've noticed, these 4 things that are all entirely different, they're all also entirely the same in that, you know, it's like I'm writing about the travel. So the travel is about, okay, it's about spending time with Gary, it's about spending time with other people, it's about new scenery and exciting things and learning new things and being with new cultures and that. And then when I start talking about the crafts, you know, it's getting inspired by new ways of doing things and how other people do things and creation and that. And then I'm talking about growing flowers and scenery and being outside and being in connection, which is actually tying back to like being in beautiful scenery when I go swimming and beautiful scenery. And do you know what I mean? It's like you suddenly realize that whatever theme I take from each of those 4 things, they're all slightly different angles, but there's an overlap. It's like, and it makes you realize that everything we want, all the joy that we want in our life, sort of comes down to one thing. We just call it lots of different things, and it does end up just almost being abundance, because I think I end up really sort of tie it all together. Is this feeling of having a really rich and full life and variety and beauty and choice and inspiration, and you know, all I'm getting goosebumps, all this stuff. But all those words apply to each thing I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? It's just absolutely like, oh my God. It's like everything is connected. It is just, this is just an illusion for creating feeling. That's my speech.
So I love it. I love it. So you're saying that really what it comes down to, abundance, you said variety in life, like all the, like, that's really what it's coming down to. And that is the joy, right? The joy of life. Oh, joie de vivre, which is like one of my favorite phrases. Oh, wow. That's so cool.
It is.
Cool.
It is so cool.
Huh. Because when you were saying the things that you would want to do if you had all the money in the world or didn't have to worry about money, which you don't have to, like, I'm just going to say this.
No. So what, let's say for me, that just means if I had all the time in the world rather than if I had all the money, because none of the things I want to do require a lot of money. It's more that,
right.
You know.
Right. And I was just going to say, like, no one has to worry about money like that. That's because I do, right? But that's a thing that I'm working on, is it is an illusion. It's an excuse to not do something. It's like, name all the things, but really at the end of the day, like when I think, when you were talking about the different things that you would want to do, like, to me, a lot of it is, I would love to have the time just to read all the books I have and all the books I don't have, like all the books.
And the reasons behind that would be the variety, the connection of people, the seeing the scenery through the words of another book, that feeling of connectedness with, do you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Everything comes round to this idea of stuff. I don't know. And it's one of those concepts that I can't necessarily articulate, but it's becoming so clear to me. And I think it will become more clear. And I think that's what there's sort of what he's getting at in this is pinpointing that feeling of encompassing just well-being. Just, you know,
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
Yeah. Wow.
The other thing, when did right, so Eva Baronius, who I think is amazing, I signed up naturally because, you know, I'm like for another of her courses, and it's just a little course. It was after this, reading Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, which is very interesting. I'm not sure I like the idea of the devil. It's done like an interview. The devil really, in my language, I would say, is just, it's not even the ego, it's the nasty voices in your head. Really, that's all it is. That's all it is, and that's all it takes to take people off their path. And we all know this to be true. But she's doing this course that's called Feeling Me, and I'm going on retreat on Friday, and of course 2 of the 3 sessions will be while I'm away. The last one's the day I get back. There's no way I'll be able to catch up in time to do the final session live, so I'm quite annoyed about that. But in the final session of the podcast, she was saying how when you set an intention to do something or to work on something, something pinged when you said it earlier, and it'll come back to me. And you set an intention to do something, and then things immediately start to be thrown in your path. And you're like, I don't believe it. I set the intention to do X, and now Y is happening, which is completely the opposite of what you've asked. And it was expression she used that said, the obstructions you get are the path. And it's like gradually sinking in. It's like if you set a simple example, I think would be, say you decide that you want to improve your relationship with somebody, and that's you set that intention, and then immediately the relationship gets very fractured. It's like you have to go through that. That doesn't mean your intention's not working. It's throwing up the stuff that you need to overcome, if you like, in order to reach the goal. And that's actually really powerful. Poor Julie, your healing hasn't soothed your throat then.
It's better, Kate, it's better. No, it's better, because it was like I would have these huge spasms of coughing, and now it's just like little tickles that I just have to like, this is much better. And I don't feel the tightness in my chest. Like I can take a deep breath without coughing. Like
So
I couldn't, yeah.
I want you to say, healing does work and I am worthy of healing.
Healing does work and I am worthy of healing.
And Kate healed me with love because I am me, and Kate loves me because I'm worthy.
That was a lot. And Kate is a really good healer, and it works on me because Kate loves me and I am worthy of healing. Did I get it?
That'll do.
I do. So I could feel it. I could feel it move through. Like at one point I felt like I was getting a fever, and then it dissipated. Like I could feel it moving.
That's more than I get. I get lots of people say that to me. They go, oh wow, I really felt that. I'm like, I didn't. I don't. You know me. I don't allow anything. Just for the for the sake of our viewers, Julie was saying that one of her problems with healing is that underlying doubt that she's actually worthy, that it will actually work. It's not that she doubts me as a healer, and I'm the same with this. It's not that I doubt any of these things. I all think they're amazing, but there's a little bit of me that just thinks that it won't work on me. I don't articulate it as far as because I am not worthy, but really that's at the root of it. No. Anyway, back to the path thing. I just thought, I'm trying to think what the actual phrase was, but it's really good. But it's like the obstacles in your path are the path. And I just thought that's actually a really nice thing to know. Mm-hmm. So that it doesn't mean that you're losing your way. It's actually showing you the way. I thought that was really fascinating.
Yeah, that is fascinating. Yeah, because it's not like we even had this, I think, in the webinar with our teacher the other day, because somebody brought this up, but it's not and I know we've both talked about this too, it's not getting to the end and going, okay, I'm perfect. It's all the bits, and Abraham Hicks talks about this too. It's all the bits in between. Whatever's happening is already, whatever has happened already manifested. Whatever's about to happen is already manifested. Now we just have to be put what we want in the vortex and be in the receiving mode and enjoy it while you go through it, which is hard to do.
Yeah. That reminded me of Nick Bro. You said earlier about money, about how money is never is just an excuse not to do it. Like Nick Bro always says, I know I'm backtracking, but it pinged again, and then you said, Nick Bro is like, money can never be the reason why something doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. If you are in the receiving mode for something to happen, the money will show up. It's like there's a million of other reasons why you won't do something or can't do something, or can't do, but won't do because you don't allow it. But it's actually never about the money. The money has to show up. If you request it genuinely and you are aligned with it, the money has to show up. So we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and there was something else too. This is what we call this mishmash. And I think that's what we have to call this episode, because there was, when you were talking about the Eva Baronius, which I hear that name all the time and I've never checked her out. I thought she was a singer. Yeah,
Maybe
she is.
I don't know.
Oh,
Um,
you have, and then there's been other people around me that I listen
really?
to on podcasts that have said it too. So they're okay. So
Wow.
check out Eva Baronius. Any whoozle. I always think of Evita, and I think of Madonna playing Evita. That's a side note. Any whoozle. This is what I meant to tell you. When you said that you couldn't listen to the other episode or the other teachings because you were way on retreat, and so you won't be able to be caught up to do the live, you can ask your guides, and I meant to do this in book club too, but you can ask your guide. Abraham Hicks says this. You can ask your guides, what do I need to know about what also was already discussed so that I can join the live broadcast? And they'll give you a little cliff notey thing, and go ahead and join the live broadcast. It doesn't, the last one doesn't matter, but ask your guides to help you catch up. They will. Because this is what I heard. This is so cool. I heard, this is what inspired me to do this. So I listened to an Abraham Hicks podcast, and this guy was very much about books and wanting to read all the books and all the things just like me. And he's like, do I really have to read all these? I mean, I like to, but do I have to read all these books? Can I not just ask the universe, what do I need to know for the greatest and highest good for me in this book? And your guides will help you know that so you can move on.
So hang on a second, right? Abraham Hicks doesn't talk about guides.
Or whatever, the universe. So I'm paraphrasing, but she said,
No. So what did she say? That how would you get that knowing?
that's what I heard her say, something to that thing. You can ask, what do I need to know about this? I'd have to go find the episode.
No. I mean, I'm not testing you. I'm just curious because they
Yeah.
don't really. She doesn't really make references.
Not to your guides, but you can ask the universe or whatever, what do I need to know about this book? And
Because
it'll tell you.
because
However,
I know Abraham Hicks tries to keep it very generic so as not to put people off, I think. And so I've never heard them say anything other than, like she always says, when you get guidance, it's not going to be a voice going, go to the corner store and buy a lottery ticket. She says it's not going to be like that. So I was just curious to see how she phrased that.
I don't remember. I just remember her saying that and going, oh, I never thought of that. See, I never think of things like, so who was I talking with? Some was talking
Sally.
Huh?
It was in book club.
Oh yeah, because Sally, our wonderful colleague Sally Heike, she knows to ask her guides like all these questions, and I would never think to do that. Anyway, so he said, so that was the conversation. And then she also said she also made the comment of you have the ability to actually connect with the author or something in that vein. And I thought, because we read this book called Initiation by Elizabeth Hayes, which was really heady, I call it the textbook to be limitlessness, to be the textbook of limitlessness or to be limitless. It's like I call it Maria's textbook is how it actually always pops in because I see her spinning all the time when I talk about it. Anyway, Abraham Hicks said you can tap into the author and ask what you needed to know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, in book club we should tap into Elizabeth Hayes and ask her, what do we all need to know?
I don't know if I could. I don't know if I'd want to know the answer. I found that book slightly impenetrable.
All the more reason to ask her, what did you need to know?
That's true. That would be interesting because we should all get a different answer.
I know. We could do it individually, and we can do it collectively.
Oh, we should do a special episode where Making Light meets the book club and ask anybody who's willing to be on TV to get Kate and her grandeur. We're on international television, get them all to do that live and see what we come up with.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting. Okay. Yes. All right. What else was there? Yeah. I have one other thing. Did I say this already about the animals? Did I already say that about the animals and how they came into the healing?
You just mentioned it, but you said you'd come back to it. You mentioned that it happened when I was giving you a healing.
Yeah. So I just
want to elaborate.
Sure. So I've just been really, really aware of the animals coming towards me, being a part of something or whatever. And it can be any certain way. So I just wanted to share this with our wonderful viewers. Well, here's this is a side note. So the other day, this is an example of like how like extraneous, I guess you could say the word, how it is. Somebody showed up the other day at our house. They had rented our RV. They came back and they told us this story about there's this preserve that's right outside my window, and it was a golf course. And there was a story that this preserve was at some point going to merge with a local zoo, and that they were going to put giraffes on this preserve because it's flat. And I'm like, what? Like, can you imagine? Okay, totally. It'd be super cool to be looking out my window and there'd be a giraffe, right? However, I would lose walking trails, but whatever. If that's okay, if that's what's for the greatest and highest good. Although giraffes in Michigan, does it make sense? I don't know. Whatever, not my problem, right? So, but she brought up giraffes. Not, I swear, not half a day went by and someone else started talking about giraffes in a completely different context. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. And then this morning, yes, last night, I was looking at something online and this advertisement came up for stuff with giraffes on it. I'm like, and then there was another story about giraffes. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Giraffes are trying to get a hold of me. So I Googled giraffe and then the word totem. And I got a message, and I don't remember what it was because I got to go back and look at all this, because I realized at that moment I was getting bombarded by giraffes, a specific kind of butterfly, and then all these birds and everything.
I can hear your hawks.
Those are blue jays right now.
Oh.
Actually, really strongly related to my uncle that passed away a couple months ago. And I've been finding blue jay feathers again. And I have a bird bath right there. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Whenever you have a chance, and I'm telling our viewers this, whenever you have a chance, just sit and watch what appears animal wise, because it can be pretty cool. But Kate just did this whole here. See, look how long I've talked and I haven't coughed. This is really good. I am worthy of the healing, Kate. I'm worthy of it working. Anyway, while you were doing the healing session, just as you got going and you brought up an emotion that I hadn't really thought about, but really made sense. We have two immature hawks, red-tailed hawks in our neighborhood that screech all the time. They started screeching up a storm. And then you talked about someone being a saboteur in my life, and all of the little birds in my neighborhood started singing. And they've been relatively quiet this last week. I've noticed the cycles of nature are happening. The birds are starting to get ready to move forward. And then as we talked about me not believing that I was even worthy of healing, this hawk started squawking again. So it's just super cool. And then I mentioned that I think Lucas put his head on my toe as I started to say stuff too. So
yeah, to comfort you.
Yeah. So it's just fabulous.
Yeah, I don't know where we'd be without animals, and birds especially. Like Abraham Hicks says, that is that they are really good messengers because they can be places. Like there's a lot of places which you couldn't necessarily get an animal to somebody, whereas birds are always there. I was on the phone yesterday, I think it was, and outside here I just noticed like chaffinches, and I haven't seen chaffinches here, and they must have been, so all the birds here seem to be molting. So they're all looking pretty shabby, but the young ones must be getting to an age where the juveniles are beginning to take on colour. So they were like chaffinches, but they just had like literally little patches of red and on the head, but they hadn't really come into colour. And I was, what are they? They look like sparrows, but they've got blood on them or something. And it's just touches of feather and the colour coming through, but just beautiful. And Humphrey, the pheasant, so we're trying to work, actually I should do that. I should get people to read in to find out what's going on. So Mabel's not been around, but I think she's laying again because I still see him. He jumps her every opportunity he gets. So she must still be in season or whatever. And it does say that if the brood fails, they will try again. Because it's unusual, I think, for the male and female to stay together afterwards. I mean, the male just bucks off and leaves the woman to it. Sound familiar, doesn't it? Sorry, no offense, everybody. Let's not generalize. But she's not been around, but he's come back, and Gary says he's got another female with him, and we were looking at him going, but we think he must be like a juvenile male. Like, like, where's this come from? So, we're like, well, could it be his? But then we would have seen it before, like it's unusual, like, and we haven't seen it since. But it's funny, like even just watching the character, it's so, he's so much bolder than Mabel. Well, when we're sort of thinking it was another female, but he's got colour, but it's obviously again just coming through. It's not a full colour, but we sort of looked at pictures and decided he must be a juvenile male. It's really odd. Why would he take up with an older male? There's so much to learn. So fascinating. Oh, I get so excited about that. He's back on his own again now. And we're just really glad because he didn't come for a couple of days. And because we've got so used to him being here every day, now if he doesn't come, I'm like, oh my God, will we ever see him again? Like, what's happened? I mean, he should be safe here, as in he's unlikely to get shot here. He's unlikely to get run down because we're, off road, but the percentage of pheasants that survive is tiny. Apparently, they expect life expectancy is 2 years, and they can live to 12.
Wow.
It's quite shocking, really. Anyway, enough about Humphrey, but I'm all excited.
Yeah, no, I love your stories about Humphrey and Mabel. Yeah,
amazing how attached you get, isn't it? Though, even though
Oh yeah, there's well, so here's the other. So this is another interesting thing. So in the spring, there was a doe that hung around, and she was all by herself during the time when they're giving birth. And so I kept watching her, and sure enough, she gave birth to twins. She allowed me to see the twins, and then we didn't see them for a while. Now, these last couple weeks, every night when we'll take like later nights, later walks in the when it's cooler, because we've had a huge heat wave, much like you have, not as bad as y'all's, but pretty bad. Anyway,
I'm in Scotland. We don't get heat waves.
Oh, you still got affected by the heat, did you not? Didn't you have some heat?
Yeah, it was nice. It was pleasant for a few days. There was no heat wave. It was lovely.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. But we've seen several does with triplet fawns. It could be that a doe has passed and someone, another doe took on, but we've seen 2 does with triplets as well as does with singles. But what's interesting is they're not moving away from us. So we actually stumble upon them, like we're talking and Lucas is in front of us, and all of a sudden we'll look up and there'll be like a doe like right there, and then there'll be triplets or doubles or twins right behind her, and we just go, oh, hi, beautiful, and we just continue to move on and try not to move her out of her way. But that's been phenomenal. Just I feel like we've gained trust with them, which makes my heart sing. But my gosh, last night we saw like, I don't know, 15, 20 deer. One was an 8-point buck. Like, yeah. So I'm just kind of reveling in that. But it's so interesting too, because for some people, like they'll show themselves to us, and then there'll be someone coming up towards us or away from us on the trail, and we'll be like, hey. And as we point towards the deer will move off. And I'm like, oh, okay. That was for us, not for you. Yeah. Anyway.
It's lovely. Animals in our lives, yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. Anything else we want to contribute to the mishmash?
I don't know. I think that's probably about a nice time, isn't it? I'm going on retreat, so I think we have enough episodes that will cover it when we go away. But it's quite interesting, actually. I'll maybe talk about it when I get back. It's interesting watching myself of what I have to do to go away. It's literally an hour and a half's drive, but because you're not on the phone and you're not on email, there's like this sort of pressure of sort of making sure that everything's done, and the cat's being looked after, and taking chickens to the vet to make sure they get their hormones, because the last time I went away, literally, I got back and go, oh, Nyla's doing that thing with her wings again, and I'm like, because if I don't get the hormones in there quickly enough, they then go into a really hard molt, and I don't want that to happen. But there's no way of knowing in advance. I do it through muscle testing. The vet sort of always says, so they're showing signs of laying, and I go, because I don't want to tell him that. Well, actually, I just ask her, because he's like, or Gary always says, Gary's always like this, like looking for the button under the desk to press. Who is this lunatic? So I was sort of, so my hens are on hormones to stop them laying, and it's important that I catch them before they get to that stage. Otherwise, they go through a heavy molt, and they're still molting from the last time, which was 17 weeks ago. So I'm taking them to the vet, just stuff like that. It's just interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
How much of our life, well, I don't begrudge the chickens and the cat, actually. Beyond that, I don't really have much responsibility. I think Gary will survive without me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really excited that you're going on retreat. It'll be cool to hear what happens when you're back.
I think so. Do you know, I feel like I'm at some sort of turning point again. I actually, this will interest you, Eva Bronius again. So she was she's doing another course, not Beyond the Mind. It's called Being Me or something, and it's an 8-month course, and it's 2.5 grand. I know it's not about the money, but it's like I don't have that sort of money to spend on something. And you can apply for a scholarship, and then all the sort of I'm not worthy comes in. Is it right for me to apply for a scholarship? You know, I'm not homeless. I can afford to eat. I just don't have excess. You know, I don't think my business will break even this year, and you know, just stuff like that. Like I can't. It's a luxury to go on a spiritual course, and I thought I could apply for the scholarship, and if I get it, that's the universe saying yes, this is right for you. And then I thought, I can't be bothered, Julie. I actually can't be bothered. Do you know what? I think I'm all right. Just like, I just, there's always going to be more to learn. There will always, and you know what? In a year's time, I could do it again. And there's a bit of me that wants to focus on making money in the shed. And I don't mean about making money. I just, you know, just to break even. Because in a way, I feel like if I get back to that even keel of actually having an income from the shed, the rest of it I can allow it more easily. This building a business and doing, you know, is not allowing me. Like today when I had this, I realize I'm gibbering. I had a reading with a lady today, and it just flowed, like it just comes. And I thought, you know, I do want to do this, but it's like when that is attached to the I have to make a living, I have to make this work, it's just not allowing it as much. I thought if I go back to, and you'll remember now, we had a year and a half, 2 years of me resisting the shed, of hating the shed, and now that I'm actually okay with it and the business has dropped off, there is actually stuff I can do to help that. And the universe is actually helping me with that. I got a call from Visit Scotland. I've got a free website with them, you know, and they're actually there to promote small businesses, and they're not, so they're non-profit, but they're all about promoting tourism, and they've advised me to get some awards, and whether or not it will make a difference, who knows. But the point is, if I'm actively engaged in building that business, I know the business will come because it has my attention. So law of attraction says, if it has my attention, then you know, then it will grow. So suddenly that feels safe, and my other business can be pleasure again, and hopefully one day build, you know, it just takes the pressure off. And I think when I take the pressure off, it will start to flow. So I feel like I'm at quite an interesting place in my life, especially given that I have just said I don't have time for a course. I mean, that's massive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because typically I would want to whip myself until I submitted myself to more work. So I feel like I've grown up a little bit.
I love it, Kate.
We'll see. Must be the chill of going on retreat.
Yeah. We so, and I'll say this last thing. So this week, Monday was the apex or the pinnacle of the Lion's Gate. So what you've experienced to me is indicative of what all can happen during this period of ascension, Lion's Gate being open, the portal being open until at some point this week, I forget what day, if it's tomorrow or Friday, begins to close.
Look it up then, won't I?
Lion's Gate. Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, you. All right. So
you want to talk about that? Yeah.
I'll talk us out. So thank you so much for being here with us today. We are making light to humans being. I'm Julie Hiert. With me, as always, is Kate Foggo. Many times they're animals. Lucas is still at my feet. Thank you so much for joining us and watching our episode. If you liked it, please subscribe, because as you know, our chief
definite aim,
yes, is 1,000 subscribers or better by the end of this calendar year. So thank you very much, and please feel free to share us as well with your friends, anybody who would be interested. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. All the information is below. Anything we referenced is also below. And we hope to see you next time. We may skip a week just because of Kate being gone. We'll see what happens. But we will be back soon with new episodes. And we want you all to take care of yourself, and enjoy the mishmash that is life. It's just the journey that's fun. See you next time.